Pets are the equivalent to someone's children. They are companions and in many ways provide comfort. So when someone threatens the well-being of our pets, we are guaranteed to react. Jonathan Dickerson recalled a story when a co-worker of his received a voicemail from one of his neighbors. In it, the neighbor claimed the co-worker's dog was disruptive and would make a lot of noise around the community.
Your dog disturbs the neighborhood at night.
He goes on to demand the co-worker set his dog straight or get rid of him. It seems reasonable to ask, but that's about to change. The neighbor then threatens if nothing is done, he will poison the dog.
Either keep him up or get rid of him, or I will poison him. This is your only warning.
The message is short and gets right to the point, and aside from the threats of animal murder, there's a creepy way in which the neighbor calmly states his threat, as routine as asking a neighbor to borrow sugar. According to Dickerson, the co-worker's dog is small, he lives indoors most of the time, and isn't a loud dog. Why the neighbor would make such threats is unknown. As far as we know, no harm came to the dog and no further threats were made. As the comment section of the video states, it takes a rather unpleasant person to make such threats against an animal who has not harmed anyone. Number 14. Don't answer the door. Stretching the boundaries a bit, but deserves a spot on this list. YouTube user Hellsinger85 was surprised by a random package left at his door. According to him, it arrived while he was in the middle of investigating strange occurrences and disappearances in his home of Amory, Mississippi. He alleged the package came with a note reading, "You are on the right trail. You may wish to get off the trail while you still can." The package contained an audio CD with a recorded voicemail on it, during which a first one is from AT&T, while the second appears to be more sinister. A man in a soft voice begins speaking, demanding the receiver to do what he says. The biggest threat comes right after, when he says, "If I come to the door, don't answer it." Much of the call is unintelligible, but from what can be heard, it sounds as if the man does not trust himself. The uploader has used this as proof his town is being taken over by some sort of malevolent force. His website formerly detailed his research, but has long since gone offline, only viewable through the Wayback Machine. Surprisingly, the video has seen almost 3.5 million views since it was uploaded in October 2009. Whether real or not, the audio itself is enough to send shivers down someone's spine. Number 13. Rainbow Granny. Sometimes creepy voices can be so exaggerated, it is hard to determine if it's overacting or spoken by an overly deranged individual. YouTube user Chessie J received a rather unsettling series of voicemails from a random person calling itself Rainbow Granny. In a low, creepy voice, Rainbow Granny kept referring to Chessie as Peter, asking if she got his other messages, and saying she needs to call back.
This is Rainbow Granny, babe. Did you get my picture? You better call, or I'm gonna keep calling you. Rainbow Granny loves you, babe.
At one point, it asks if Chessie got its picture, begging the question as to what sort of picture Rainbow Granny would send, but from its voice, it's easy to imagine it would not be pretty. Rainbow Granny also makes promises of sending gifts if Peter calls back. It is difficult to determine if Rainbow Granny is a man or an older woman with a low, raspy voice.
I was on the phone with my son. If you get time, call me back. I miss Peter. I'm still waiting on these beautiful purple flowers, babe.
Regardless, Rainbow Granny's persistent messages appear to harbor something sinister. As many commenters pointed out, it has the same vocal mannerisms as Herbert from Family Guy, with the exception of the low voice. To this day, it is unknown if Rainbow Granny was a messed up prank or a messed up person. Number 12, hey Alex. Calls late at night either mean a friend who's been drinking is calling, someone overseas is calling, or you're about to get really bad news. None of these were the case for Alex Sanchez when he got a voicemail around 2 a.m. one night. In it, a man with a mildly deep voice instantly turns vulgar when he implies Sanchez's reason for not answering for explicit reasons.
Hey, is that your name? Next time you don't answer the phone, I'm gonna beat the nacho. Smother yourself.
Interestingly, it seems the caller isn't even sure who Sanchez is, as his first comment is seeking confirmation if Alex is his name. He goes on to say if Sanchez doesn't answer the phone again, the caller will retaliate with violence. Much of the recording we cannot share because it gets too horrific. The chuckles of the man are also haunting, as they sound they are from a disturbed individual, one who knows what he's saying is wrong, but doesn't care. One commenter has suggested the call was from a friend, attempting to play a prank on Sanchez, and considering how absurd the conversation is, it is quite possible. Regardless, receiving such a messed up message at 2 a.m., alarm bells will ring. As far as we know, Sanchez suffered no harm and never heard from the man again, but there is no knowing what assortment of crazy people are out there who are willing to harass those who least expect it. Number 11, The Crystal. Kevin K. posted a strange experience he had when he received a voicemail from two individuals who appeared to believe he was part of some prophecy. In the brief message, the callers keep referring to a mysterious crystal Kevin apparently possesses. The number was private, so he was unable to figure out who made the call, but it creeped him out. The two people on the phone sound joyous, as if their savior has appeared to rid some sort of evil they are prisoners of. More than likely, these people are either pranksters or not mentally stable. Besides being creepy, the callers do not appear to have ill intent. Even the commenters of the video take the humorous side of the call, adding their own takes on the ramblings of the callers. At the same time, it is easy to see the disturbing side of it. Who were these people, and why were they so interested in this possibly non-existent crystal? It makes you wonder if this was a serious call. What was going through their minds at the time? We'll never know because no other calls came, and Kevin hasn't updated. We are left to speculate the powers this magical crystal held. Number 10, a ghost in the machine. A big fear nowadays is whether or not machines will take over. Braxton McCammond had a strange experience when his sister's phone was desperately trying to communicate. In his words, it was mid-morning when his sister's phone kept trying to dial their mother's phone. Slightly freaked out, she left her phone in her room and went downstairs. Around this time, the mother came out of her room and asked Braxton's sister why she kept trying to call, which the sister replied it wasn't her, but her phone. As this was happening, the phone called again and this time left a voicemail. In the message, you hear a radio playing, followed by what sounds like some sort of electrical screams. Braxton admits he finds the call disturbing, particularly at the end when the phone actually hangs up on its own. As Braxton explains, if the call were simply a ghost dial or malfunction, the message would have been longer. Something was trying to communicate, either screaming in pain or anger. No other information is provided, and it is unknown if the calls continue. Was the phone gaining a mind of its own, or was this another example of the afterlife attempting to talk to the living? Number